What's up, guys? Let's take a look at another quick CodeWars exercise. This one is called filter long words. Write a function that takes a string and an integer n as parameters and returns a list of all words from that string that are longer than n. So example, we take the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog and 4. Then we return a list of all words that are longer than 4, which in this case is quick, brown, and jumps a couple of 5s. This is specifically not something you'll do very often, looking for links of words, but generally it's absolutely maybe even the most common thing you'll do, which is we get some data and we have to get the good stuff before we start using it. We have to take a list of voters and get the ones that are Republicans, or we have to take a list of cars and get the ones that are in our price range. That kind of thing is super common in spreadsheets and every programming language in the world. So let's take a crack at it with a few different tactics, a few different ways we might achieve this goal. All of them we'll see when we look at other people's solutions in the end. The first way, the classic way, the long way, but no shame in that, is a for loop. So let's make a for loop and then go from there. For, I'm going to say word. Word is like the chunk, the unit that we're working with in this case, and it's in sentence, but that's not quite ready because if we loop through a string in Python, it gives you one character at a time, and we don't want the T, the H, the E, we want the words. So what happens if we go THE space Q? The string doesn't know that a space is special. It doesn't know that it's a new thing, except it has a method that can do that. So if we call the split method, it will break on a certain character. If we have an email and we want to get the part before the @ and the part after the @ we can split on @. But by default, and the most common, is it splits on the space. So we're going to go with that, and then we get our words, which fits our name. And we're not doing any kind of transformation. We don't need to make it uppercase or anything like that. We're just taking it or leaving it. And so I'm going to say if the length of the word is greater than n. Remember, n is our cutoff. It's our determiner whether you're long enough. And what do we do with it? Well, it'd be nice if we could just say return and we're done, but that would only catch the very first one, and we would need to collect them all before returning at the end. So we have to put it in a container, and in this case they're asking for a list, so we'll use a list. We can call it, I'm going to call it result, and that's a common thing. In these you'll see something called result, which is not very descriptive about what it is, like it's not saying that it's words that are long enough, but it is descriptive about what role it plays, which is it's the thing we're going to have at the end and return it. So I'm going to say result.append word. So if we tried to run this, it would say, what are you talking about? We don't have anything called result. We got to create it. And then that's it. We look through all the words. If they're long enough, we put them in the result. We just return that. So if I hit test, we will probably pass, and there you go. However, if we look at the solutions from other people, we're going to see a little bit of this and a lot of some other approaches. So like I said, this is so common. You're filtering data. You need to get the good stuff. You need to get, the even numbers or whatever. So people don't want to type 5 lines every time. You need to do this common operation. After all, we can say it in 3 English words, so we should be able to say it in a couple code words as well. And there is a way which is actually just the same stuff rearranged. Let me show you how to make a list comprehension. We're going to go word, for word in the stuff, if it's long enough. And that's it. We can delete all of this. And we don't even need a name because we can just return it right away. Return, and then we make a list. This is called a list comprehension. Word, for each of the words, if it's long enough. That is pretty close to how you would describe it in English. It's also kind of close to how you would describe this kind of thing in math if you're talking about a set or whatever. And if I hit test, unless I made some typos, it's going to work just as well. This is probably the most common one we'll see in the solutions from other people, but I do want to show one more because it's really common in other languages, and it's actually the first word of the title. There is a function called filter. So if you'd use the function called filter, there's two parameters. We have test, we have the function that we're applying to the stuff, and then we have the stuff, we have the sequence, or in this case, the words. So we could say filter, let's keep this part because that's going to be what we use in a second. And then we give it the test, we give it the function that we're applying, which in this case is, are you long enough? And we're going to use a lambda, and then the second thing is the sequence. So we're going to give it sentence.split, and then probably a lot of parentheses. What do we need here? I need one more. And then when you get a filter object, it's what they call lazy. It doesn't evaluate everything. It's just ready to go in case you need it. In this case, we want to evaluate them all. We want to get the whole thing. So we wrap it in the list with even more parentheses. So that's one reason why it's not very pretty, is to have this big ugly thing at the end of your line. I don't love it, but it'll work if we hit test, I think, and that's good too. So let's see the solutions that other people have submitted for this kind of thing. Some of them are exactly what we expect, exactly what we did. This person, I guess, changed the name of the parameter, which you can do, it's totally fine, and I kind of like it better because in doesn't really say anything. If we scroll a little bit longer, we'll see. I hate this one because using I makes you think it's an index like 0, 1, 2, but it's not an integer, it's not even close, it's a word, so why would you call it I? I don't like this one. This one is using the filter just exactly like we did, and it's kind of tradition when you're doing a lambda to just call it x, to just call it something really tiny, because it's a throwaway variable that's going to be consumed in the next few characters anyway. Fair enough, that's fine. This person used RE, which is regular expression. Those are a way to search through text. You say, give me all the ones in a lowercase, or they're followed by an at, or whatever, and it does a great job. But the problem with regular expressions is that they're hard to read. You see a lot of brackets and slashes, and if you're not used to it, it looks like magic. So this person either has experience or they just decided to practice regular expression, and that's a good thing. We got another comprehension. Here's one with the for loop, the classic, okay, how we started, and they did it pretty much the same way, except again, I would absolutely not call it I. Like, why would you call it I if it's a word? I would caution against that, but everything else, perfectly reasonable, and if you turn that in, it would work just fine. Remember that all of them, once you get to this screen, work just fine. They're all good, and like X, I don't know. Some of the names on these are killing me, but it's totally fine. You can scroll down even further, and eventually you'll see one totally unique that'll stand out. But mostly we see the patterns. We got the loop, we got the comprehension, and we got the filters. So check them out, and this kind of thing happens all the time. If you get good at one of these approaches, you'll be able to apply it to half the problems on CodeWars, even the hard ones later. Thanks.